Here we go. On today's show, I will get to what I know about why Lil Wayne is not playing the Super Bowl halftime show in his hometown of New Orleans next Sunday. And I will get to why this Super Bowl will be a defensive battle, low scoring, definitely under the 48.5 over-under total. And I will get to why I deserve credit for the single greatest play in Super Bowl history. Hang on for that. But first up, Nico Harrison has become the anti-Jerry Jones. Nico Harrison is the GM of Dallas's NBA team, while, of course, Jerry Jones refuses to fire himself as the GM and unofficial head coach of Dallas's NFL team. The team that used to be called the Dallas Cowboys, used to be known as America's team, used to be. Last offseason, of course, Jerry Jones told the world that he was all in. I'm all in on fixing a team that had fallen behind 27-0 before halftime of a home first-round playoff game. But Jerry did next to nothing all offseason, very long. Nico Harrison, in just 3 years as the Mavericks GM, has built teams that made it to 2 Western Conference Finals and made it to last year's NBA Finals. But, as you know, Nico's Mavs lost those finals in 5 games to the Celtics. And you know what Nico quietly said? Not publicly, but very quietly said? Not good enough. And Nico Harrison just went all-time all-in. Nico traded his 25-year-old superstar because Nico decided his Mavs had a better chance of winning a championship this season and next, or maybe the next, with Anthony Davis in place of Luka Doncic. And I agree with him, and I admire him greatly. If only Nico Harrison ran Dallas's football team, the one that hasn't even been back to an NFC championship game in, almost 30 years? Are you kidding me? Now, you can condemn Nico if you want, you Mavs fans and you Dallas media and you national commentators. But this man has bigger balls than Big Tex, which is the 55-foot-tall figure of a cowboy that looms over the State Fair of Texas in Dallas. I keep hearing, Nico Harrison could have gotten so much more if he just shopped Luka instead of just dealing with the Lakers. No. You are missing the point. Nico Harrison did not want a haul of draft picks and 2 or 3 very good players who might or might not fit in with the Dallas Mavericks. Nico wanted the player I have often called the best two-way player in all of basketball. A player I've often said on any given night looks like the best player in all of basketball. A player who's second in blocks to Wemby, but who's a better all-around defender than the roaming Wemby ever has been. I'm talking about the player LeBron raved about Saturday night in his on-court interview after the Knicks game up in New York as the man who erases all the Lakers' defensive mistakes. A first-team all-defense star. I'm talking about Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr., AD. Anthony Davis has proven to be far more durable over the last 2 years than he ever had been before. So let's check that box. I know he's been hurt here recently, but it's okay. He's about to come back. Anthony Davis works hard. He doesn't say much. He doesn't cause diva problems. He's actually more of a follower than a leader. And as Nico said, AD will fit the culture that Nico wants to build with the Mavericks much better than the other guy fit the culture. You know who the other guy was. And by the way, speaking of culture, Another great fit for that culture is going to be Max Christie. And you might not have watched him much, but I watch every dribble of every LeBron game. So I know his game, Max Christie's game, inside and out. He could start for the Mavericks because he has turned into such a good 6'5" 3-and-D contributor. He did such a nice job the other night on Steph. He took Steph the whole game up at Golden State. Max Christie has been starting for the Lakers, and he's shooting 37% from three, and he is such a smart, quality kid, all of 21 years of age. So think about this. Nico got the man he wanted, AD, and he got Max Christie, and he got the Lakers 2027 first-round pick, but he didn't shop Luka because his primary target from the start was, seriously? Anthony Davis? Yes, seriously. He got AD. Nico is obviously a bigger fan of Kyrie Irving than he ever was of Luka. Remember, Nico traded for Kyrie. He paired him with Luka, and then Nico had to sit back and watch Luka pout for the final 20 games of 2023. Remember that? Luka refused to shoot in the fourth quarters of those games, obviously saying to Nico, watching up in the stands, oh, you went and got Kyrie to close games, so I'll just stay out of the way in the fourth quarter and I won't even try to shoot. Those Mavericks unraveled. They missed the playoffs. But last season, Kyrie made it clear to Luka that Luka, was the man. That Kyrie would just ride shotgun. He'd play 1A. He'd take shots only when Luka needed a little break. And it worked until the finals. But as I have said about Luka over and over and over the last 3 years, he has never been in great shape. Luka has a double chin. He's thick around the middle. He looks like his body fat, I don't know, could be up over 20%, while most NBA players are under 10%. Luka obviously doesn't really care what he eats or drinks. He's obviously no weight room workout warrior. And it looks to me like he just tries to stay in shape by playing basketball during the season. So, as we all know, LeBron spends $2 million a year on his fitness. Looks to me like Luka doesn't spend 2 minutes a year on his fitness. Nico just said, I don't want to bet on that formula for the next 5 or so years because next summer, Luka is eligible for the Super Max. What is it? 4 years, $360 million. Nico has Kyrie. Nico believes in Kyrie as a clutch closer, as a veteran leader. And now Nico wants an older and wiser Kai to become the man and the leader in Dallas. And I believe that is a safer bet. To me, Kyrie has grown up a whole lot since all those issues in Brooklyn. I had lots of issues with him in Brooklyn. He's just different now. Saw the light, grew up, became a dad, became a husband. Should have been an all-star this season. I mean, come on. If I just say the name Kyrie Irving, that just says all-star. Now he's going to have a chip on his shoulder because he's not an all-star. Now he can return to being full-on Kyrie Irving. Go from backseat to grabbing the wheel that Luka controlled. Furthermore, I will bet you Nico has had enough betting on a superstar who just can't shoot. So while LeBron is everything Luka isn't when it comes to fitness, they're exactly the same player when it comes to three-point and free throw shooting, which means they're both pretty pathetic by superstar standards. I know I've beaten this to death, but just telling you the facts. LeBron is a career 34.9% from three. That is pretty awful. Luka is a career 34.8, slightly more awful. This season, Luka is right at 35%. So let's say he's at his career average. That's from three. That ranks 112th. Yet in attempts per game this year, Luka ranks 5th in the NBA. Attempts from three per game. 9.5 a game he shoots from three. So think about this. He's a lousy, high volume three-point shooter. Do the math on that. And from the free throw line this season, Luka and LeBron, believe it or not, are dead even. They're both 76.7%, tied for 147th in the NBA. Superstars tied for 147th in free throw shooting. Let that compute for a second. Yet this year, both are slightly better than their career free throw percentage. Luka's career is 74.8 to LeBron's 73.6. That means double jeopardy for the Lakers, especially late in games when both Luka and LeBron have been, close your eyes, liabilities. So why were last year's Mavs able to rise all the way into the finals? Because look what they found. Luka actually made some clutch threes. He is clutch, more clutch than LeBron. And every once in a while, he'll pull a three right out of his backside, including that huge bomb that he made over Gobert at Minnesota. Remember that one? Whew. But what happened when Luka had to go up against a much better defensive team, the Celtics, especially perimeter defense? Finals lights got a little brighter. He reverted. Luka in the finals shot 11 for 45 from three. That is 24%. I picked the Mavericks to win that finals. He drove me out of my mind. I was rolling on my floor saying, just make one, please. And by the way, in the finals, last year's finals, Luka made only 17 of 29 free throws. He missed 12. That was 59% from the free throw line during the NBA Finals. That is horrendously bad. And Nico said, to his credit, I've seen enough. Look, there is no doubt that Luka is a super smiling superstar entertainer and scorer. No doubt. We all know that. Which is exactly why Jeannie Buss said, wait, we can get Luka Doncic for at least the next 5 years? Do it! If LeBron does retire after this season, or maybe after next, Jeannie now has Luka Doncic. She's got her next LeBron. Luka can score just the way LeBron always has scored. Luka can get in the lane and get to the rack anytime he desires. LeBron's obviously more of a power driver, a freight train driver. But Luka, yeah, he's a little more herky-jerky, crafty, but he can still throw his considerable weight around at 6 feet 7 inches tall in the lane against the bigs. Both Luka and LeBron are great passers, generational passers. Yet, here's the biggest problem of all. Both are used to running the show, and here they inevitably will clash. They do not fit together. Right now, as we speak, Luka is third in the NBA in nightly usage rate. Usage rate, how much time you have the ball in your hands. LeBron right now is 9th in the league in per game usage rate. Even though, of course, Luka has missed the last 19 games since Christmas with a calf injury. But last season, Luka led the NBA in usage rate, led the whole league. Yet, help me out here. LeBron is the Lakers' point guard, natural born point guard. He's their maestro. He's their organizer. He's their initiator. Oh, wait. Luka always wants to initiate. Luka often wants to dribble, if he so desires, and sort of work his way into the lane. And now LeBron is going to do exactly what? Is he going to have to do what Bronny does all too often, which is go stand in the corner and watch? And help me out here. What about the other end of the court? What about playing that thing called defense? Neither Luka nor LeBron nor Austin Reeves, I'm a big Austin Reeves fan, but none of the three is exactly considered at this point a defensive demon, although I thought Luka got better, certainly tried harder on defense during last year's playoffs when he did lead the playoffs in steals. Give you that. But the Lakers just replaced their defensive eraser, AD, with a Luka who has never really cared about playing down and dirty regular season defense, maybe not even a lot of playoff defense. That's yet another reason Nico made this deal. Nico plunged on a win now move, unlike anything Jerry has done since signing Deion Sanders. That was 1994-95. Whew. Jeannie Buss just jumped at a beautiful long-term business opportunity, and I don't blame her for that. She's about butts and seats, about eyeballs watching television, and she can now have Luka smiling his way to scoring titles and who knows, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 MVPs over the next, 10 years as a Laker in LA. Good for you, Jeannie. Congratulations. That's why I do not believe LeBron was consulted on this move. I don't believe it at all. For the Lakers, this move was far more about post-LeBron future than right now, right here, right now. It's far more about next year and the next. I also believe LeBron, when he tweeted lie, L-I-E, lie, at the national reporter who said LeBron was ready to move on from AD at last year's trade deadline. I do not believe LeBron was ready to move on from his fellow clutch client last year or right now, either one. And I do not believe LeBron is looking forward to trying to figure out on the fly how to share the basketball with the king of usage rate, Luka. I'm just telling you the truth. From my heart, I do feel sorry for LeBron James right here, right now. Now there will be nights when he'll feel like the second most popular Laker. Now he'll no longer be the center of attention in LA. Now I won't be surprised if next summer LeBron opts to join Steph for one last hurrah at Golden State, and LeBron could be a free agent if he so chose this coming summer. And yes, I know Luka has spoken glowingly about how LeBron was his childhood idol. Okay. And 3 years ago, LeBron, I think, tweeted this, but he called Luka his favorite player to watch in all of basketball. Great. But surely neither of these super duper stars ever dreamed of actually playing together. They're just way too much alike. They're actually each other's worst nightmare. Look in the mirror, LeBron. Look in the mirror, Luka. You want another you every night? Battling for the basketball? Now, no doubt the Lakers are trying to trade for a center, but that center, whoever it might become, will not be able to plug the gaping hole left by the Lakers' best player, the NBA's best two-way player, the top 5 player who on many, many nights looks top 1 to me, Anthony Davis. I now see where the Lakers' odds of winning it all this year have improved, but the odds makers are just being blinded by the double star power of LeBron and Luka and anticipating the incoming bets from bettors blinded by the double star power of Luka and LeBron. Boom, LA, Hollywood, magic. I believe the Lakers' chances just got a little worse, while the Mavericks' chances just got better. I really like this trade for Dallas. I love the all-in guts of Nico Harrison. He just said to the world, I am going to trade my out of shape, can't shoot, no defense playing problem child for a grown man who can dominate on both ends. Man, I wish I could trade Jerry Jones for Nico Harrison. Quick sip of the nectar of the gods. Breakfast of champions. Diet Mountain Dew. It just tears me apart when I see an ad for Kendrick Lamar playing the Super Bowl halftime show. Yes, Lil Wayne is my brother, but anyone can see this is just so wrong, so dirty, rotten wrong, just so unfair. Come on, Wayne is New Orleans. And this Super Bowl obviously will be played in New Orleans. So why wasn't Wayne chosen? I don't know for sure, but this is what I think. Jay-Z runs the entertainment department for the NFL. So I'm assuming this was his decision and his alone. I'm guessing it came down to Wayne and Kendrick and Taylor Swift for halftime entertainment. Taylor's going to be there. I assume Jay-Z plus NFL anticipated, because the Chiefs were on a roll at that point, that she was going to make it to New Orleans. Check that box. But obviously, Kendrick's Not Like Us was already on its way to being the song of the year, capped off at the Grammys. And obviously, it's yet another Drake diss track. And obviously, Wayne and Drake are closely associated. And so what? So what? Wayne is New Orleans. At least the NFL immediately sent Wayne a letter of apology from nobody in particular, just from the league on NFL letterhead. A letter that thanked him for his years of supporting the league, not just the Packers, his favorite team, but supporting and promoting the NFL in general, which he has. I mean, he makes weekly appearances on the NFL Sunday pregame show, NFL Game Day Morning on NFL Network, but he will not play Sunday's halftime show. And he definitely won't watch a second of Sunday's halftime show. He will watch the game, just not the halftime show, not 1 second. When the news first broke, it hit Wayne hard. He didn't feel like doing much of anything for several long days and nights. He's better now. But his mom, ironically, is coming from New Orleans out here to Los Angeles this week just to be with her son, to be around Wayne, just in case he needs a little bit of emotional support. This is just so wrong. I realize all the attention this week will be focused on, in order, Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and Xavier Worthy and A.J. Brown. But I'm here to tell you, this game will be all about the two best defenses in the National Football League. Nobody talks about it, but they are the two best. the two that Pro Football Focus ranked 1, 2 at the end of the regular season, even though the Eagles defense was ranked number 1 by a wide margin over the Chiefs. And even though the Eagles defense has allowed the fewest points per game in the playoffs at just 18.3 points per game. But I am here to tell you, this is going to be a low-scoring game, well under the over-under total of 48.5 points. Yes, I am here to tell you once more, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win it 20-16. Yep, only 20-16. Now, maybe I'm slightly low there, but I'm just looking at the facts. I'm looking at a Kansas City offense that ranked 15th this year in points scored, middle of the pack in the NFL, going up against the best defense in pro football, regular season and playoffs, the best. So for me, vying for Super Bowl MVP will be Steve Spagnuolo and Vic Fangio. Spags is 65 years of age and has coached for 45 years. Fangio is 66 years of age and has coached for 46 years. They are both very, very good at what they do. Much better defensive coordinators than head coaches. And they were at their greatest this year because they were even greater than the sum of their defensive parts. The Eagles had only 2 Pro Bowlers on defense, Jalen Carter and Zach Bond. The Chiefs had only 1 Pro Bowler on defense, Chris Jones. So I'm counting on C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Quinyon Mitchell and Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, maybe even Cooper DeJean to play like Pro Bowlers this Sunday for the Eagles. And I will not be surprised if Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis and Nick Bolton play like Pro Bowlers for the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday. I believe this Sunday, both Mahomes and Jalen Hurts will do a whole lot of dinking and dunking and scrambling. I will not be surprised if Jalen has more rushing yards than Saquon, who will have a long, hard day against this Chiefs front and against that coordinator stopping that run. And both quarterbacks are going to have a tough time, a long, hard time completing a deep ball in this game. So to me, this is going to be inch by inch, especially in the red zone. The Eagles are obviously 3-0 in the postseason, but that's mostly because they have taken away the ball 10 times and given it away 0 times, 10-0. So I'm anticipating the Eagles will force 2 Kansas City turnovers, and I'll give you this. They'll give it away just 1 time in the Super Bowl. I just hope that turnover is not the tumultuous kind of turnover that you remember wrecked the Eagles 2 years ago against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl when the Eagles were driving to make it 21-7 and Jalen Hurts just, I don't know, he just lost the handle, unforced error. And Nick Bolton scooped it on one sweet, incredibly lucky bounce and took it to the house, 14-all. This time, please, no scoop and scores, no pick sixes. Just spare me that, and I'll be fine. So last time they played 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, it got back and forth wild in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs scored 17 in that fourth quarter alone. That's 1 more than I have them scoring this time in the whole game. Last time it wound up 38-35, but that was a very different Chiefs offense. This time it will be 20-16. And I won't be surprised if Jalen Carter goes Reggie White and just monsters his way to 3 sacks and 10 tackles and Super Bowl MVP, even though he's right now 11th in MVP odds. Mahomes and Saquon are 1-2. So this won't be so much about Andy Reid versus Kellen Moore as it will be about Spags versus Fangio playing blitz chess in crucial moments. I said before the season started, I'll remind you one more time, the team I hate the most, the Philadelphia freaking Eagles, those vomity green jerseys, I said they're going to win it all because Eagles GM Howie Roseman ran Super Bowl rings around scary Jerry Jones. And now the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl mostly because of their defense. They are going to get even with the Chiefs by stopping the Chiefs from becoming the first team ever to win 3 straight Super Bowls. This time, I believe the refs will call it fairly and squarely. No more Kansas City cheats. The Chiefs already made it. The Chiefs, obviously the refs made sure that the Chiefs got this far, that she will be at the Superdome up in the box, and that her billions of fans worldwide will tune in, if only to see what she's wearing or maybe to see if Travis actually proposes after the game. The Eagles will derail that also. But this time, the NFL doesn't need the Chiefs to win. In fact, this time, I assume the league would just as soon the Eagles win just to prove once again how impossibly hard it is to win 3 of these things in a row. This time, the Chiefs' luck runs out. They've won 17 straight one-score games, and now they're going to lose 20-16. They've used up their 9th life. They lucked into win after home win this year by the most bizarre of circumstances. Now that ends. So now I have no choice but to root for the team I hate the most to win the Super Bowl. And it will. 20-16. Book it. Quick sip of the Breakfast of Champions. Oh, I'm sorry. I just have to get this off my chest concerning my Dallas Cowboys. I keep reading what a great hire Clayton Adams was as offensive coordinator because this indicates a recommitment to the running game. What? Exactly who is Clayton with a K Adams? And what is he doing as my new offensive coordinator? I must admit, I'd never heard of Clayton with a K Adams. And now he's getting credit for Arizona's running game ranking 4th in rushing in the NFL 2 years ago and 7th in rushing in the NFL last year, while he was the offensive line coach in Arizona. Okay, yes. I have known 2 great offensive line coaches. Got to know both of them well in my time covering the NFL. Those 2 who did help build some dominant run games. I'm talking about Hudson Houck and Bill Callahan. But with Clayton Adams, in his 2 years as the offensive line coach at Arizona, the Cardinals win a combined 12-22 and miss the playoffs both years. Help me out. 12-22, dominant run game. What? The only time Clayton Adams was ever an offensive coordinator at all in his 20 years of coaching was at Colorado in 2018. This is obviously long before Dion arrived. And that year, Clayton Adams was actually co-offensive coordinator. And that year, the Buffaloes went 5-7 and finished 80th in college football in points scored. Clayton's co-coordinator that year, Darren, I hope I say his name right, Darren Chiavarini, is now the head coach at Northeastern State in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Northeastern State in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. It has come to this for my Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles have former Cowboy quarterback and former Cowboy offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, at offensive coordinator. Way to go, Eagles. Now we have somebody named Clayton with the K Adams. So, hey, here's an idea. If I combine Clayton Adams with Kellen Moore, I get Clayton Moore, which was the name of the actor who played the Lone Ranger in the classic TV show. Remember this? Hi-yo, silver away. That was Clayton Moore as the Lone Ranger. I know. I'm losing it. I'm reaching. I'm desperate. I'm actually starting to lose it the way Scary Jerry has lost it. We all know that Shoddy is going to run the offense and call the plays. I'm talking about Brian Schottenheimer, our new head coach. He's actually Scary Jerry's assistant head coach. So Clayton with a K might as well just be the offensive line coach in Dallas. And now, obviously, there's only one way to actually relaunch the run game, and that would be landing Ashton Genty with the 12th overall pick that we now own. I really like this kid's low-slung power and his balance and his burst and his supreme confidence. I like his take-no-crap attitude and his just relentless attack mode that he plays in, just banging and banging and banging away until he finally breaks one. Is he 2016 Zeke? Probably not quite, but he is very good and sorely needed in Dallas. And I fear Ashton Genty will be gone before we pick at 12. That's my fear. But hey, we'll still have Coach K. What I'm about to tell you is a true story, start to finish. This was early 2015. I spent Super Bowl week in the Phoenix area ahead of Patriots versus Seahawks. You'll remember that. Then I flew back to New York on Saturday so I could watch the game on Sunday at my apartment and be ready for first take early Monday morning in New York City. So that Sunday, my then girlfriend, Ernestine, did watch the Super Bowl with me in the living room of my one-bedroom apartment on the 22nd floor of a high-rise at 54th and 8th in Manhattan. I had picked the Patriots to win this game because I was a big Brady fan. And at that point, I was not a big fan of Richard Sherman's. He and I had engaged, you might remember, in a legendary battle on First Take. But I did not love my chances when the Seahawks hit the fourth quarter leading 24-14. That's when I turned to Ernestine and I said, I can't take it anymore. I've got to change my luck. You stay here. I'm going to watch in the bedroom. She was not happy. She said something like, you are crazy with all this jinx and luck stuff. I didn't say a word. No time to argue or defend myself. My deepest instinct told me I just had to go into the bedroom and watch this fourth quarter on this crappy little ancient TV that I had at the foot of the bed. I hadn't watched that TV in I don't know how long, weeks, maybe months. And now I was watching the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl on this thing. Terrible picture. And right on schedule, here came Brady doing what Brady always did in Super Bowls, especially in fourth quarters. He threw for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns in that fourth quarter. Brady hit Edelman from 3 yards out with 2 minutes left to give New England the lead 28-24. Way to go, Tom. But no. Here came Russell Wilson. He flipped it to beast mode, 31 yards. Then he went deep to Jermaine Kearse for 31 yards, down to the 5. Then Marshawn Lynch took a handoff, looked like he was going to score, but Dante Hightower dragged him down at the 1. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, just riveted, feet on floor, hands on knees. I was sweating but not moving a muscle, as if the slightest flinch would cost me this game. Truth be told, I was virtually sure at this moment the Patriots were going to lose. I mean, 2nd and goal from the 1 with 26 seconds left. Virtually sure. And you know what happened. A flat-out miracle happened. The most amazing play in Super Bowl history happened. Some kid I'd never heard of, some kid named Malcolm Butler, some kid who had just entered the game because of a blunder on the previous play by another cornerback. This kid, Malcolm Butler, jumped the route and somehow stole the ball and stole the game right out of Ricardo Lockett's hands at the goal line. Russell Wilson's pass was on the money. But Malcolm Butler, undrafted out of West Alabama, hadn't played much the whole game, beat Ricardo Lockett to the spot and to the ball and somehow just stole it. I still watch the play and I can't even figure out how he pulled it off. It took me a long moment to comprehend what had just happened, as I still sat riveted on the side of the bed, feet on the floor, hands tightly gripping knees. Then they flashed up a picture of Brady on the Patriots sideline, jumping up and down like a little kid on Christmas. And suddenly, so did I. I started jumping around my bedroom like a little kid at Christmas. Then I opened the bedroom door and I stepped out into the living room where Ernestine was now watching something else. And arms spread, palms upraised, I said, "I told you I would change my luck." And she said, "The Patriots won?" I said, "On the most incredible play in the history of the Super Bowl." She said, "And you think they won because you in New York City went into the bedroom to watch a game being played in Phoenix?" I said, "I do." She said, "You are out of your mind." Yet my now wife, Ernestine, will tell you I have repeatedly demonstrated successfully changing my luck and changing big games right before her very eyes, again and again and again. She will attest. And man, did I ever have fun on First Take that Monday morning. Woo! Way to go, Malcolm. Cheers. I close with a trip a little farther down memory lane to another Super Bowl in Phoenix. That's the third Phoenix Super Bowl I've referenced on this show. That's weird. This one in Phoenix occurred almost 30 years ago. This was Super Bowl 30. This one was played at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. This one featured the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Dallas Cowboys of Troy and Emmett and Michael and Dion. Those Cowboys were favored by 13.5 points over those Pittsburgh Steelers. I was there in Phoenix all week. I was writing a book on that team and that season that would become Hellbent. That was the third of my Cowboy trilogy of books. On that Tuesday, my sources told me all about how various Cowboys, starting with, of course, Michael Irvin, had taken over various Phoenix area strip clubs the night before. On Wednesday evening, I went to dinner with Barry Switzer's daughter, Kathy, who had become a friend of mine. She had her father's limo for the night. And somehow we wound up having dinner at a long table that featured Jerry Jones and his kids and their, at that point, spouses or girlfriends, boyfriends. It was just surreal. It felt like a victory celebration on Wednesday night. And on Thursday, I interviewed a whole bunch of Dallas Cowboys who came off as the most confident Super Bowl participants I had ever experienced. And this was my 20th straight Super Bowl that I was covering. 20th straight. Nothing like this before had I ever experienced. On that Sunday morning, I was a panelist on a show you might remember on ESPN, The Sports Reporters, with Dick Schaap and Mike Lupica. And that morning we had a special guest. You might remember this Indianapolis Colts quarterback named Jim Harbaugh. So in our opening segment, Jim Harbaugh tried to make a case that the Steelers' defense would make it tough on the Cowboys' offense. After all, Jim's Colts had just lost the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh on a sort of Hail Mary of a pass to Aaron Bailey that probably should have been caught. By the way, that score was 20-16 Pittsburgh, which is the score I've picked for this Super Bowl. But on air that Sunday morning, I told Jim Harbaugh that this Cowboy offensive line is the greatest ever. And I asked Harbaugh face to face, he was sitting just to my right. I asked Harbaugh how the Steelers' defensive front was going to cope with these maulers. When Jim Harbaugh just sort of stammered for a moment, I said to Jim Harbaugh on national TV, "You don't have a clue." I actually said that to Jim Harbaugh. You don't have a clue. Now, maybe I came off like a Cowboy homer, even though my books were viewed by many Cowboy fans as not exactly fansy kind of books. I'd like to think they were very objective. But I was actually on television that morning just echoing what I'd heard all week from players and coaches and from the owner. Were these Cowboys ever riding high that week in Phoenix? They won Super Bowl 30, 27-17, a game that never really felt even that close. And that night, I attended the Cowboys post-game party in this giant tent in their hotel parking lot. And Barry Switzer's motto was, "Win the game, then win the party." But this party, to tell you the truth, was pretty mellow and muted, kind of ho-hum, just like the game was. Inside that tent, it felt like it was difficult for anybody inside the tent to get too jubilant about winning a game the Cowboys were supposed to win by 2 touchdowns. It just felt like everyone in that giant tent fully expected to be celebrating the next year's Super Bowl, and probably the next year's and the years after that. Neither Troy, nor Emmett, nor Michael, nor Dion had even reached age 30. I felt like I was in the middle of a dynasty. But now, as I look back on it, maybe I should have changed the spelling to D-I-E-nasty, dynasty, as in death of dynasty, D-I-E-nasty. If you told me that night at that Super Bowl 30 party that the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't even get back to an NFC championship game for the next 30 years, I would have said to you exactly what I said to Jim Harbaugh on TV. You don't have a clue. Now, with Shoddy as my coach, quote unquote, and with Clayton with a K as my quote unquote coordinator, and with Scary Jerry owning and operating at age 82 and counting, my Dallas Cowboys feel farther than ever from a Super Bowl. Hell-bent indeed. That's it for this week. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing, to Ernestine for overseeing, and of course to Hazel for approving.